You've taken a great photo, maybe it's from last night, you're laughing, the light is perfect. Your thumb hovers over the share button, and then it happens. A small twist in your stomach, a quiet voice asking, why am I even doing this? Some people ignore that voice and post anyway, but others put the phone down and keep the moment for themselves. So here's my question, what separates those two people? Because psychologists have actually studied this, and it turns out the people who don't post share 5 specific traits. Number 4 is the one that will make you rethink every photo you've ever uploaded. And stay until the end because a philosopher from the 19th century predicted your entire Instagram feed, almost word for word. Posting photos wasn't always like this. In the early days, think MySpace, the first years of Facebook, sharing a picture was genuinely exciting. You were connecting with real friends, real family. Social media had no rules yet, we were making it up as we went along. But slowly, the goal shifted. Sharing stopped being about connection and became a battle for popularity, likes, reach, followers, and at some point everything started feeling cringe, so instead of posting what's real, we started posting what performs. Psychologists have names for this shift. Sharing a fun night with friends is intrinsic motivation, you do it because it matters to you, but posting for likes or to avoid looking boring, that's extrinsic motivation, acting for external rewards or to avoid punishment. And extrinsic motivation quietly strips away your individuality. You know exactly what this looks like. The dinner date where the food arrives and before anyone can eat, a hand shoots out. Wait, 2 minutes of aesthetic photos. The meal gets cold while the picture gets warm. It's not about savoring the moment, it's all for the gram. If you felt a small sting of recognition just now, hold on to that. We're going somewhere with it. There's one moment where this battle becomes impossible to ignore. Researchers of behavior call it the photographer's paradox. You're at a concert, your favorite artist is on stage, and for a few minutes you're completely inside the experience, and then a thought lands like a weight, I haven't taken a single picture yet. Suddenly you're no longer watching the show, you're framing it, you're both the observer and the performer, and here's the paradox. The need to prove I was here and I had fun quietly destroys the very fun you came for. Think about what actually gets better when nobody's watching. The sunset that's more beautiful when you're not photographing it. The conversation that's deeper when you're not mentally writing the caption. The achievement that's sweeter when it's just yours. The conflict between living a moment and proving a moment only ends one way, when you stop needing to post it. Now the philosopher I promised you. Soren Kierkegaard, writing in the 1800s, argued that the crowd is untruth. The crowd, he said, is where people hide from themselves, acting only on what's popular, letting the pressure to fit in drown out who they actually are. He couldn't have known how literal that would become, because today the crowd isn't just other users, it's the algorithm, a machine engineered to keep you engaged, and it runs on a simple fuel: insecurity is profit. When the feed says your camera is outdated, you buy a new phone. When it says you're not fit enough, a weight loss tea appears conveniently in your next ad break. The attention economy doesn't just sell products, it sells standards and then charges you to meet them. Quick question, and be honest in the comments. Have you ever bought something because the algorithm convinced you that you needed it? You're about to see how many people said yes. Here's something deeper, and it's the mechanism underneath everything. Sociologist Irving Goffman showed that we all wear masks, adjusting how we act to control how others see us. That's normal, that's human, but social media took that mask and put it on a stage in front of a billion people. Forever, one awkward caption isn't just awkward, it's permanent. Anyone can dig it up and judge it years later. And something happens to your identity in that spotlight. Every post, every like, every aesthetic choice becomes data that your audience uses to build a fixed image of you. Psychologists of online behavior describe the result as a crystallized self, an identity frozen in place. And a crystallized identity is fragile. Any deviation cracks the facade. Offline, you're fluid, the loud funny one with one group of friends, the serious career person with coworkers, someone softer with family. Online, you're not allowed to be all of them, you're allowed to be one thing. The same trap has a name for regular users: the pigeonhole effect. Pick a niche, get known for it, and you're boxed in. You're no longer a person, you're a product with a brand identity. So who escapes this? Here's where most people get it completely wrong. The people who don't post are not a tiny weird minority, they might actually be the majority. Internet culture has run for decades on the 1% rule. Only 1% of users create content, 9% interact, and 90% just consume. Researchers estimate 30 to 40% of everyone on social media are so-called lurkers, people who scroll constantly and share almost nothing. And the number is growing. A 2023 survey found that 47% of Gen Z have deleted posts because they didn't get enough engagement, and 1 in 3 avoid posting at all, out of fear of judgment. A study in Frontiers in Psychology looked at why. When the pressure to post combines with fear of judgment, social comparison, and privacy concerns, it produces exhaustion and anxiety, and people retreat into watching instead of sharing. Translation: your brain is trying to protect you. Psychologist David Elkind once described adolescence as living with an imaginary audience, feeling watched even when nobody's there. Social media simply made the audience real, and the response we're seeing isn't disappearance, it's a retreat into smaller circles. Finstas, close friends lists, stories that vanish in 24 hours, from broadcasting to narrowcasting. A new kind of user is emerging, the quiet participant, present but not performing. So what does psychology actually say about these people? 5 traits. Count how many you recognize in yourself and tell me your number at the end. 1. Privacy over popularity. People who rarely post have what psychologists call a high privacy orientation. They value control over what others see and think about them. They're not antisocial, they protect their mental space. While most people seek validation through likes, they run on self-validation. They don't need to announce their life to feel good about it. That's not distance, that's inner security. 2. Self-concept clarity. Research shows that people who share less online tend to have a stronger sense of who they are. Their values, their goals, what matters to them, none of it requires external approval. That's why they chase fewer trends and compare themselves less. Their happiness doesn't depend on reactions, it comes from within. 3. Secure self-esteem. This is a specific kind of confidence, the kind that doesn't need attention to survive. They don't post selfies to prove their worth because they already feel complete. Psychologists find that people with this emotional balance are less anxious, less approval-seeking, and more focused on real-world goals. And notice, when you meet these people in real life, they're not miserable or lonely. They're usually fine, sometimes more than fine, because they're living their life instead of filming it. 4. They judge themselves by their own standards. This is the one I warned you about. Psychologists call it an internal locus of evaluation. There are 2 kinds of self-awareness. Public self-consciousness asks, how will this look? Private self-consciousness asks, how does this feel? People who don't post live in the second question. And that changes everything, because when you're not constantly managing your public image, you finally have the mental space to build an identity that doesn't need an audience. That's not overthinking, that's emotional intelligence. 5. They see the digital illusion. Social comparison theory says we constantly measure our worth against other people's highlight reels. And here's the cruel part, even when you know it's staged, your brain falls for it anyway. Their promotion, their engagement ring, their new house, your subconscious doesn't care if it's real or performed. It just whispers, they have more than me. People who opt out aren't weak. They simply refuse to join a competition where everyone else controls the camera, the angles, and the story. They choose peace over performance. So, how many out of 5 did you count in yourself? Drop your number in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how this spreads. One warning before we finish, because there's a trap on this side too. Albert Camus wrote, with rebellion, awareness is born. In that sense, the person who refuses to post is a quiet rebel, a one-person digital strike against the performance machine. As Gil Scott-Heron put it, the revolution will not be televised. But here's the trap, it's easy to become a caricature of your own protest. The friend who lectures everyone about their posting habits doesn't change anyone, they just become insufferable. It's like telling someone to put down a cold Coke on a hot afternoon because it's unhealthy. They hear you, they even agree, and there's no way they're letting you talk them out of it. The point was never to abandon the crowd loudly, it's to embrace your life quietly. The healthiest version of this mindset isn't everyone else is wrong. It's, I'll connect, but on my terms, in real time, without the show. So let me leave you with the paradox this whole video has been circling. The things you build by not posting, control, self-reflection, security, are exactly what social media promised to give you. Connection, community, self-expression. It promised to bring us together, and instead it built a performance economy where being real became the rarest thing of all, where silence somehow became stranger than posting 3 times a day. The people who opt out aren't rejecting connection, they're rejecting the terms. Nobody on their deathbed has ever wished they'd posted more, but plenty of people wish they'd lived more. The quiet ones aren't hiding in the shadows, they're just living in the light where cameras can't reach. If this video felt like it was describing you, it was. Subscribe and tell me below, when was the last time you kept a moment just for yourself? What did you choose not to post?